Brownell, and we will be joined by Jeremy Williams, the Chief Operating Officer at Advanced Pedestals Incorporated, also known as API. All viewers are encouraged to ask questions using the comment section. Your questions will be answered live at the end of the presentation. Again, thank you so much for joining, and let's get started.
Well, thank you, Kamala. Appreciate the introduction, as always. And real quick, before we bring Jeremy in, I kind of wanted to go over a really quick presentation so that you understand the technology that they're using and why it makes sense to them. So bear with me while I go through a really quick slide presentation here. Sorry. So we offer a technology known as polymer fusion labeling. And there's some challenges when trying to decorate polyethylene products. And so I kind of wanted to go over that really quick. The first one is if you try to take a sticker and stick it to polyethylene, it can be a challenge just because of the low surface energy characteristics of the materials. And it's very, very similar. If you look at it, it's very similar to Teflon, which we coat our cookware so that nothing sticks to it. And in order for adhesive technologies to work, you try to raise up that surface energy. So that's one of the challenges with polyethylene. Next, it's constantly expanding and contracting as it gets cold. If it's an outdoor part, like these secondary pedestals are, they're constantly expanding and contracting as they get hot and cold. So that can cause delamination. And then lastly, just from the manufacturing and the materials themselves, there's a lot of surfactants, slip agents that can cause a challenge with adhesive labeling. And so to understand our technology and why API utilizes that, I want to take a look at kind of current labeling methods that are out there. The first one is just a good old-fashioned sticker. If you look at it on a cross section, it will typically be like a clear coat on top with ink down below that, and then an adhesive layer. But again, trying to stick to a material that nothing wants to stick to. So that can have challenges as far as delamination is concerned. This next one is what's called hot stamp foil. To this, I would add screen printing or pad printing. Again, you're taking ink, you're taking adhesive and trying to make it stick to a material that nothing wants to stick to. Then there's a process out there known as a heat transfer. And if you look at that construction, you've got clear coat on top, followed by a layer of ink, followed by a layer of adhesive. And again, you're going to learn here in a moment, we don't adhere to anything at all. We actually fuse together with the plastic, and I'll explain more in one moment. But again, heat transfers can have trouble with delamination with polyethylene. And then lastly, and we see this one in the injection molded world, where they have a style of in-mold labeling for injection molding. But again, this can have issues. Now, the substrate of an in-mold label for injection molding, the substrate itself does a pretty good job of biting into the surface of polyethylene and polypropylene. The trouble is, if you look at the rest of the construction, you have clear coat followed by a layer of ink. And we don't print with any sort of ink here either. Again, I'll explain in a moment. But if that clear coat breaks down for whatever reason, then that exposes the ink, and then the ink can come off. And at the end of the day, you're left with basically a substrate on the surface, and the ink has been removed. So that's where we come in. And so knowing what those other methods are like, we're totally different. And I think this slide here kind of says it all. The white portion at the top, that would be indicative of a polymer fusion label, okay? It is plastic. It is polymers. In fact, when I look at our own organization, I think of us more as a polymer company than a printing company, because what we're making here is a thin layer of plastic. Okay, and then that comes in contact with the polyethylene. Then through the use of heat, the two materials are fusing together to become one piece of plastic. Okay, so that's why it works. It's not adhering. They are actually fusing together with heat. In fact, if you were going to compare us to another process, I would say that we are more closely related to plastic welding than any sort of decorating method that is out there. So again, you have a plastic label, your plastic resin, and you're fusing them together with heat. Bear with me. So this is just a real quick snapshot of our test data report, from pressure washing to accelerated weatherometer testing. We actually do long-term testing as well here in Arizona. Again, chemicals, the the label itself becomes part of the plastic. So I'm never worried about people doing testing, because if your base plastic will hold up to the testing, the label will as well. And so this is just the last slide here. People come to us all the time for branding. We have the ability to do antimicrobial properties, anti-counterfeiting, authentication, tracking and tracing from serial numbers to barcodes. But I just wanted to really quickly explain polymer fusion labeling and why it becomes part of the plastic. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that one off, and I would love to welcome Mr. Jeremy Williams.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. And thank you so much for getting together with us and teaming up for this event. So can you tell us a little bit about API?
Yeah, so I'll give you the story as it's told to me. So um, late 1970s, as utility companies transitioned power lines from above ground on telephone poles to underground through polyethylene conduit or PVC, they needed they were making their splices or their junctions in these flush mounted handholds or vaults. And so the problem with those is that they flood with water and then your connections short out.
Mm.
So there was a man named Gene Jones who came up with a concept to create an above ground junction box, the Pedestal. And so he went out on his own and created a company called Missouri Pedestal. And that company thrived for many years. And then at some point, he sold off part of it and then continued his part of it with the secondary electrical pedestals as advanced pedestals. And then 1997, my former boss, who's now passed, Pete Schaff, bought the company from Gene and moved it to Gainesville, Texas, where it's been ever since. I started when I was 16 years old, working part-time after school. So I've done most everything here.
Wow.
But the API does more than just the electrical pedestal, but that is most of our business. We're primarily a rotational molder. We do have some injection molding capacity as well. But we do some custom work. We do some ag products, things like that. We've experienced significant growth over the past few years, 50 to 60% year over year since 2020. We've really been in a really good spot. We've been, if you can see behind me, we were in the top, we were fourth place out of 9 Plastics News Best Places to Work for 2023. So that's
Awesome.
been an honor. And one of the things that we take a lot of pride in too, which helps us, and I'll explain this here in a second, our mission statement, molding people and quality products for a customer-driven experience that's second to none. And we put the molding people in there because half of our management staff started on the floor. And a
Sure.
lot of those guys have put on the polymer fusion labeling, the molding graphics. So it's easier to sell those when you've actually put them on and you understand the process. So anyway, we take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And like you were saying, the secondary, electrical pedestals is a big part of your organization. Um, how do you guys kind of stand out as far as one of the providers for these important devices?
So first you need to understand what it is, what it does. I kind of briefly alluded to that. So
Mm-hmm.
when we think about electricity, we have generation. So whether that's hydro or wind or solar, coal, whatever that is. We're going to generate the electricity. And then there's transmissions. That's going to be your big power lines you see running down the interstate and those types of things.
Okay.
And then the distribution is when you get into the towns, the neighborhoods and things. So our product primarily is going to be used, not always, but primarily used in the new additions, the single family homes, those types of things. So as they distribute that power underground in the new housing additions, they're gonna run the power underground, and then they're gonna have their splices, their junctions inside of our pedestal. Sometimes they're in the back alley, sometimes they're in the front yard, and so that's kind of where we fall there as far as the electrical pedestals. Now we offer a few other things, but primarily the pedestals are going to be those single family homes and things like that. It's towards the end of the line as far as electricity goes. But some of the things that set us apart, number one, obviously, you mentioned the graphics, the polymer fusion labeling, but we're going to use quality materials. We melt compound our own polyethylene in-house. Our pedestals are rotationally molded. There's nothing wrong with an injection molded pedestal, but we're not using any foam fillers. We're not using anything that's going to degrade the polyethylene, make it brittle. And
Got it.
that's very important because you have a plastic housing with electricity in it going into neighborhoods where there's children playing and riding bicycles and throwing baseballs and things. All of our components that go inside the pedestal, any plastic components inside the pedestal, we injection mold those in-house using the same quality standards and prime materials that we would use in the rotomolding process. So we want to make that product. We're going to say this a lot. Safety is our concern. We cannot have this housing with up to 600 volts in it being damaged or broken and a child put their hand in it. We just can't have it. And that's another reason the graphics are so important to us. And then the other thing, one thing that's going to set us apart is we're a small family owned, family oriented company. When you call, someone's going to answer the phone. Someone's going to answer the phone. You're not going to have to go through a bunch of processes to get somebody on the phone.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you have a great culture there. So
we do.
It's amazing. You've been with us a long time. And
yeah,
we've been doing this a long time together. So I was wondering, could you speak a little bit like good labeling versus bad labeling? Does that have an impact on customers? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. And so to your point, so Gene Jones was using your product before Pete bought API. So that tells you how long. I've been here 25 years. So that's when I started and first started putting on graphics, I didn't think there was any other way to do that. I just thought that was the norm, So I had to actually learn backwards that these are the other options, and this is what's wrong with them, and this is why graphics are superior. So that's kind of interesting because most people have to go the other way. But as you alluded to in your presentation, decals just don't stick to polyethylene well. You can do certain things to polyethylene to help, but as you mentioned, we call it gassing off. The polyethylene is going to gas off. You're going to see air bubbles under your graphic. You're going to get dirt and water behind it, and eventually they're going to start peeling. The expansion, contraction, the typical decals that you see in the utility industry, which those are fine. They're fine for their purpose, but on polyethylene, they just don't work very well. They typically don't have great UV properties. I mean, we see the decals that peel and they're flaking off. I mean, much like the pictures you showed earlier. And so the molding graphics product allows us to eliminate all of that. We don't have to worry about that. We know that when we put that label on, we mold that part, it's going to be there for the life of that product. And so it's going to be safe. It's going to be clearly identified. And I think that, when you look at the products that you see in the everyday world that have polymer fusion labeling on them. It's typically a brand or logo or a name of a product, such as kayaks and things like that. It's all beautiful, but and we do that too. We do that on a lot of products, but it's so vitally important when it's a warning label, when it's telling you, do not put your hand in this, do not get inside this because it will kill you. And if you can see behind me, this is one of our very common pedestal tops, and you can see that small warning label on there.
Mm-hmm.
So every electrical pedestal that leaves here is going to have, if it does not have a customer specific label on it, it's going to have that logo on it or that graphic, and that tells you this thing, it's energized, it has electricity in it, don't get in it or it's going to hurt you. So it's so important. It's so much more than a cosmetic thing on these pedestals. It is a safety thing. We cannot afford to have, you know, vinyl decals and other types of decals that peel off in 2 to 3 years, and then someone doesn't know what this box is for. Yes, it says electric on it, but if you don't know that it's going to hurt you, then that's a problem. So,
Sure.
And I've been to the MIGS facility. You guys were gracious enough to invite me there. And your presentation this morning is just a small part of it. When the guys at MIGS sit down and they really go through this, and they have all this this testing they've done and all this microscopic images and whatnot, and you can see how that fuses. It will really cement the fact that there's just no other way to label polyethylene products. There's just not. So you guys do a great job explaining the science behind that.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, and you know, and we kind of made that promise for the title of this live stream to, you know, never have to replace a label again. And it sounds like that's, you know, what API is doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I think some of your staff shared the picture that I shared with you guys of the pedestal that's been in the field for over 25 years.
Sure.
And we use that when we train our sales reps and distributors and things. That pedestal is almost 30 years old, and there's a little fading, but very minimal. Everything is still legible. I can tell, I can clearly read that there's energized electrical equipment inside this box. And your technology has improved greatly since then.
Sure.
Your graphics are better now than they were then. So how long will these last? I mean, I hope I'm around to see, but I'm sure I will. But it allows us to permanently mold in these logos. That's one advantage that we have, is that we can work with you guys. When we have a customer come to us and say, okay, I need a pedestal, they don't even know that they have these options. And we tell them about this. We can get your warning label on there. We can get your logo on there. So when their linemen are driving around and they need to make a repair or do something, they see their logo on that pedestal. So to not have to replace those, we are saving the utilities, the lineman time and effort and money. I can't tell you how many utilities we've spoken to that have staff that all they do is repair broken pedestals and replace decals. And so our product eliminates that with our components that we use, the quality polyethylene we use, our processes, and of course, polymer fusion labeling. They don't have to do that. They just don't, which cuts their cost and greatly improves their business. And of course, I continue to talk about the safety issue, not having to replace that decal or that sticker. Who monitors that? You know, when you have a different product out there that you've had to put a warning sticker on, are there checks done on that to ensure that label is still there? And then when it does come off and the unit is damaged, is someone going to get hurt? And we don't want that. So that's why it's critical for us to use this product so that we don't have to worry about it, and the end user doesn't have to worry about it, and we keep our communities, our neighborhoods safe.
Sure. Yeah, and I noticed, you know, like you were talking about your, you know, companies that you work with, and I mean, you're putting their contact information if they have questions or, you know, concerns about it. So no, that's awesome. we're about to turn it over to the question and answer session, but to kind of wrap things up, can you tell us a little bit about the future of API? Like, you have anything going on right now that you'd like to add?
Sure. So the biggest project we've been working on for the past several months is a rotationally molded transformer pad. So anybody that's involved in any electric distribution at all knows that there's a shortage on transformers, single phase transformers. They're really hard to get. And so what people are experiencing is they set a transformer pad, which are typically made out of fiberglass material, which can, crack and bloom and those types of things.
Sure.
They're going to set that, and then they're going to run their wire, but they don't have anything to put on the pad because they can't get a transformer. So we've designed a transformer pad. This will be our first one that has a lid on it so that you can loop your wire, continue your run, continue to work, and cover that and keep that unit safe while you're waiting on your transformer. So we should have that out in a couple weeks. We've already got purchase orders for that. We're really excited about it. And then we're also working on some other projects that will expand our reach as far as being a enclosure company, not just electrical pedestals, but what types of other enclosures can we produce using the same methods and the same quality and potentially even polymer fusion labeling to produce a better product than what's currently available. So we're excited about that. And of course, like I said, we're not just a pedestal company. That is the majority of our work, but we also have a line of cattle liquid feeders. Many of those get molding graphics and polymer fusion labeling. Most of them do, actually. Those cattlemen ranchers, they're really proud that their name is, brightly displayed on their liquid feeder, and you can see it from a distance. Many of them have the phone number on them as well. And then, of course, we do custom rotation molding as well. A lot of those parts get molding graphics as well. Probably 80% of what we do here gets some sort of mixed graphics. So that's kind of interesting. But we do have some capacity there. Always looking for great partners to work with the custom molding. And as I mentioned earlier, we do injection molding as well. So we've got some projects we're working on with that are pretty exciting. And I have to plug this as well. You guys have been working with us on the polyfuse labeling, where we have some equipment here. We're excited to dive into that and see what we can do with the post mold application of the graphics. So
fantastic.
Yeah, but we're always looking for new partners, people to grow with, and mold great products with.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Kamla, I just wanted to see, do you have any comments that have come in or any questions that Jeremy and I could answer?
Yes, I do actually have a couple, and I just want to encourage other people that are viewing the webinar now. Certainly, if you have a question or something came up during the presentation, please feel free to ask the question in the comment section. The first one I received is, do you have the ability to make warning labels using ANSI colors?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, and here on the molding graphics polyfuse side as well, yeah, that is part of our color palette. Again, it's not ink, but it's pigmented plastic, and yes, we can be compliant with those colors for sure.
And then there is one more. You did mention it during the presentation. We do have the ability to do serial numbers or barcodes. They're asking just how that would work on the pedestal and with a label.
Well, we can, if API has a need for that, we can certainly support that. We do a lot of, barcodes that have to have unique identification to them. Code 128 is a symbology that comes to mind, where every product is unique. We see that in a lot of different industries, but yeah, it could certainly be supported if that was a need of one of the customers, for sure. Any other questions that have come through?
I do not have any other coming through at this time. So if anyone has a question, please ask now.
For sure. And you can certainly reach out to Advanced Pedestals API. great team over there. And then from a labeling perspective, if you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to our team here at Molding Graphics and Polyfuse. Jeremy, in closing, anything that you would like to add, or any questions that maybe you've seen come up?
Well, first thing, just want to thank you guys for your partnership. You guys have been amazing to work with, and very innovative and sharing your innovation with us. But otherwise, check us out at api-plastics.com. You can check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're very active on social media. We have a really fun group of guys here. We like to work hard, play hard, yeah, it's very exciting times.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Jeremy. And if viewers out there, if you need secondary electrical pedestals, if you need to have something, custom molded, great company to work with. So
give us
again,
a shout.
Thank you for being partners for all these years.
Absolutely. It's been an honor.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody who has attended, and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.